Now, we already know that loops are very powerful for executing algorithms. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how we can increase that by running a loop inside of another loop in order to accomplish a task. So this program is going to display a times table. The user is going to enter the maximum value that they would like to have displayed. So we're going to have max. So this one will be highest number in the times table. And then what we'll do is we'll start by prompting the user for that value. So system.out.print enter the highest number in your times table. Okay, and then we'll have max get the value of input.next int, and we're ready to go. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we're going to display the heading row for the times table. So the way it's going to work is we're going to have, 1 to whatever number that they want to go up to across the top. And then down the left, we're also going to display those numbers. Now, we're going to need a little bit of space at the top left. So I'm going to display that here. So system.out.print. We're going to put an extra space here. So this is just the width of a number. And this is going to give us like a blank spot above the row numbers that we want to display. So for the heading row, what we want to do is we want to start at 1 and then go all the way up to the number that they wanted to go up to. So for int I equals 1, while I is less than or equal to max, the maximum value, and then we're going to increase it like this. And then every time we go through, system.out.print, I don't want my numbers all mashed up together here, so I'll put 2 spaces here. So this is 2 spaces. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a system.out.print I. Once we're done printing those numbers, this is where I want to skip to the next line. So system.out.println with nothing here. Okay. So, I'll get that later. We'll run this and see what we've got. Okay, so the highest number I want in my table, say we're going to go to 10. And then this is going to be the heading row that'll go across the top. You see we have a little bit of extra room on the left so that I can go 1 to 10 down the left-hand side. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to display the individual rows. So this section here is going to be for the table rows. When you're programming, it's always a good idea to sort of put headings starting off different sections of your code, so it makes it a little bit easier to navigate, find where you are, especially when you get this big jumble of for loops and everything starts looking the same. So here, we are going to need to make also an amount of rows equal to whatever the user put in for the maximum value. Just like that. So same loop here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start by printing whatever number is for the row. And then after we do that, we are going to go, say like we're on the 3rd row, we would get 3. And then what we want underneath this is we want to print every number 3 times 1, then 3 times 2, then 3 times 3, all the way up until the max number. And just before I do that, I'm going to put a println just to show you what we've got so far. Okay, so if I go to 10, here's what we get. We get our heading row, and then we've got the headers for the rows. And then here we're going to have a 1, say like where we have the intersection between 2 and 2, we're going to have a 4. We're going to encounter a layout problem in just a minute here, but we'll see that when we get to it. So in here, this is where we want to display the products of those numbers. So products, which is the result of a multiplication in the table. Okay? So we're going to write another for loop for this. Now, typically what happens is when you create a for loop, you use I as the counter. Now, what happens if you got a for loop inside of a for loop and we're already using I? It would be a mistake to use I again because then you're going to get this causing it to grow, and then it's going to get messed up with the interior one. So what we typically do is we increase the letter. So we're going to use J. And if you used a loop inside of a loop inside of a loop, and they were all for loops, you would use K for the next one. There are algorithms that do require you to do that. So we're still going to keep not while I is less than or equal to max, while J is. J++. Okay, and then what we're going to do here is we are going to essentially do what we did up here because we want to go across. So I'm going to copy and paste here. Make sure that everything is lined up properly. So we're going to put a space in front of the number, and then what we're going to do instead of printing I, we're going to print I times J. So when we enter here, I is going to be stable at one number until this is done. So imagine it's 3. What we get is the number 3 printed. And if the max is 10, then what it's going to display is 3 times every number until 10 is reached. So we'll run this program and take a look at what that looks like. And we'll see a little bit of an issue, but it takes a little bit of extra work to do this. So this one's not bad, but of course, when we get a 2-digit number, it pushes everything over. The last row is technically like all of this cascading down the side like a waterfall. But you can see that we get all of the values representing the times table here. And we can do this with very little code because if you think about it, this is really most of what's happening. We can really accomplish this with just very little code using a loop inside of another loop.